we would all like to see the team performing really well across all the formats. Obviously, there are some big tournaments just around the corner. The Men's World Cup's in 17 months' time. We'd want to have a really good tournament there. So I think we would all want Sri Lankan cricket to be performing at the best they can be and being at the top of the pile. So I think the motivation for us all is to take this very talented group of cricketers in this country and to get them to fly in formation and to help them really perform well against the best cricket teams in the world. I don't think it needs me to tell you that. I think you probably work it out yourself. I think what's important for me is what sits behind the team and how I can help the individuals in the team play their best cricket that they can play, and all aligned with what Sri Lankan cricket in its entirety wants to achieve. It certainly doesn't require me to say what's good and what's bad in Sri Lankan cricket at the moment. I haven't been here enough, so it would be irresponsible for me to make any comments. But certainly you do hear things and you do hear a bit of noise in the system, and we would all like that that to be as clean as possible so that the players can go out and perform at their best.
Champika, you can.
Gary, given the number of T20 leagues around the world and also their multi-format commitments at national level, how would you plan to manage their workload, maintaining their focus on the national duty?
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for every country. These leagues are very prevalent in the game at the moment. I think Sri Lanka can be proud. There are, eight or nine, maybe even 10 guys involved in two big leagues at the moment. So, these leagues play a big role in a player's life. So we've, as the international team, need to manage it as best we can. So there are challenges, but I think I'm certainly used to it. I've been on both sides of the equation, and just trying to manage the players' times, their workloads, really important. For me, what's important around that is that we have a lot of depth in the group across the different formats. So you are able to rotate players when you need to. You can't expect one guy just to be playing all the time. He'll blow out quite quickly. But I think every country in the world is managing that space.
Amal, you can ask.
Amal from AFP.
I think what's important for me in any team that I would work with is trying to find the best balanced team across the different formats and what the depth in each of those positions are. So I think my priority at the moment, and I've already started doing some work on that, is just understanding what roles we're looking for in each of the different formats, and then what are the players that can fulfill those roles. And I think if you've got a balanced outfit that that can manage the game across the different challenges that exist in the game, whether that's conditions based, whether it's the opposition that you're playing against, the different countries you play in, and I think if we've got the skill sets across those different verticals, that would be my work in Sri Lanka, certainly initially, to find that we can fill those gaps across those different roles that are required in the team.
Samantha, even us.
ජනම් ජාරත් මහත්මයා මම ඔබතුමාගේ ප්‍රශ්නය අහන්නේ දැන් ඔබතුමා අතන මේ සීට් එකේ වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්නේ හයි පර්ෆෝමන්ස් සෙන්ටර් එකේ ඩිරෙක්ටර් විදියටද එහෙම නැත්නම් පහුගිය කාලේ දිගටම තොරතුරු වාර්තාවන ඔබ ඒ තනතුරෙන් ඉවත් කළා මේ හිටපු ප්‍රධානී පුහුණුකරු සනත් ජයසූරිය මේ තනතුරට එනවා කියලා මේක යම්කිසි ඇත්තක් තියෙනවද
මේ නම දාලා තියෙන මේ ටයිටල් එක තියෙනවා මේකේ
චරොම් ඇවිල්ලා ඩිරෙක්ටර් ක්‍රිකට් සනත් ඇවිල්ලා කන්සල්ටන්ට් ටු හයි පර්ෆෝමන්ස් සෙන්ටර් මේ සනත් තමයි ඒ ඕවරෝල් මේක ජොරොම් බලන්න ඩිරෙක්ටර් ක්‍රිකට් ඔක්කොම ක්‍රිකටින් ඒරියා එක බලන්නේ ආය මේ සනත් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නේ කන්සල්ටන්ට් කෙනෙක් හැටියට ඩේ ටු ඩේ ඔපරේෂන්ස් බලලා ඒගොල්ලන් ඇඩ්වයිස් කරන්න ක්‍රිකටින් ඒරියා එක.
Yeah, Rex, you can.
Gary, obviously you have tasted a lot of success coaching international teams, helping India to their World Cup win in 2011. In the process, breaking 20 million Sri Lankan hearts, Wankade. Also, having taken South Africa to the top of the test rankings, what would be your dreams or priorities with Sri Lanka?
To take them to the top of the tree in world cricket. That would absolutely be my priority. And certainly something that we would work towards. I think importantly for Sri Lankan cricket, someone mentioned where they sit in the rankings at the moment across the different formats. I would certainly, I'm sure everyone that's a stakeholder in Sri Lankan cricket would like to see the team at the top of the pile. So for me, my priority is to work out what is required for that to happen, because I don't see any shortage of talent and depth in Sri Lankan cricket. Certainly in the time that I've been here, I think there's a lot of good players around. So it kind of doesn't match up that the rankings are where they are, but we'll head in the right direction. With good players, you can do a lot. So I'm excited by that journey.
Labit, you can ask.
Gary, especially when a foreign coach comes and coaches the Sri Lankan team, there's obviously the communication barrier is always there. How do you plan on making that barrier, break the barrier, especially in two-way communication is very important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've worked across a lot of different cultures and countries, so I had a bit of experience in that space. The one thing I do find is that English as a kind of a medium of communication works quite well in cricket, because we use a lot of English words when we talk about cricket. So I always say if the players have got something to say about me, they can talk in their own language, and that's fine. But generally, if we're trying to move in the same direction, cricket, there are things that we all understand when it comes to the game of cricket. So we'll work through that. If there are communication issues, we can translate. We can get messaging across. Communication is not only necessarily just talking to people; it's also just how you spend time with them, how you care about their games, and how you want to help them progress and get better. So. I'm mindful to come into the Sri Lankan space and try and take control and dominate the space. I'm here to help Sri Lankan cricket. My job is to come here and make this team a really good cricket team. So I'm just part of the process, and I need to understand the culture really well, understand what makes the players tick, understand the environment. So I've got a lot of learning to do as I go through this journey. I'm here for 5 weeks before we play our first match. So that's quite exciting to get to know how the environment operates here.
Jatil, you can.
Ashley, what is the reason for this recent unveiling of this new ethics code for the players before you guys present the contracts for the national team? And has there been any truth to yesterday's media reports circulating online as well and print media that the government has asked the EXCO to step down and that President Shammi Silva has been singled out particularly?
You asked two questions. The first one is the ethics code that has been implemented long time ago, and it was not introduced only recently since the players have to sign the contracts. So every time when the player signs the contracts, they are compelled to sign the ethics code, which they have done it in the past. Coming back to the second one, we have also seen some reports in the media, but we have not been notified of anything, and we are not aware of anything of that nature.
Mahendra, you can go ahead.
Yeah, question to Gary. One point of criticism against the current crop of Sri Lankan current crop of Sri Lankan players is that they are not adapted to playing modern day cricket, as in inverted commas. So how do you react to that? You think they are lagging behind playing modern day game?
I think we would want to get everyone up to speed with the modern day game, absolutely. But I do think that, again, I think there's enough skills and talent in the country, to compete against the best teams in the world. I just think back to a T20 game against Australia just a few months ago. It was a great game of cricket by Sri Lanka, so the potential's absolutely there. Just want to get the consistency up, and if there are areas in the balance of the team that are not quite working out, it's our role and responsibility to understand that and to make sure those skills that are required, we are preparing and developing players to fulfill those skills.
Rex, you want to ask?
Gary, you said you got 5 weeks before your first game and you'd like to get to know the players in that time. But having said that, the cream of your players are either in Pakistan or India. Some of them are involved in the first class tournament, and the young ones are playing the A series against New Zealand. In that context, how tough is it to get to know the players?
Yeah, not easy, and not the first time I've experienced this, where players are just so busy and they're on the road a lot. We'll probably have the full complement of players available just 2 or 3 days before the first ODI. So it's not an easy thing, but we do what we can, and you try and adapt, because that's what international cricket requires, and make it work as best you can. Try and create opportunities to meet up with players where the opportunities are. To be honest with you, I'd prefer guys to be in competition and playing matches. I always think that's the best form of preparation that you can have. So to have a group of players that are match ready by the time we play the first ODI against West Indies, I'm happy with. We will kind of work through our environment and understand what is required with the environment as we go along. But I think this period now is just good preparation time for me, get to know the ins and outs of Sri Lankan cricket, watch some of the younger players playing, and really just to get to understand the depth of the game here, and spend time learning that, spending time in the offices, meeting everyone. In fact, in all the coaching opportunities that I've had around the world, I've generally had about 10 days prep before we play the first game. So this time I've got 6 weeks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can.
Also, Gary, given the amount of franchise leagues happening at the moment around the world, most high-profile coaches would prefer to coach a franchise or two, and for the rest of the year sit back at home. Being one of the leading coaches in the world, on a personal note, what inspires you to be involved with an international team?
So I've had the privilege of working with India and South Africa a few years back, and really enjoyed that. I then made a decision to not get involved in international cricket for a while because my children were quite young. But they've grown up now, 2 of them in university, so it makes it easier to get back into the international space. And I've always preferred coaching international cricket than in the leagues. I think you can spend a lot more time with the players, and I think there's a greater motivation to play for your country. And I love the idea of helping players really understand what it means to play for your country. The leagues is an interesting space. There's a lot of learning in the leagues, and as a coach, I think I've grown a lot. I spent 7 years in IPL. I've grown a lot through that journey, but I've always preferred international cricket, and so really looking forward to being involved with Sri Lanka.
Prince, you can ask.
ජෙරොම්ගෙන් අහන්නේ මේක මේ දැන් හයි පර්ෆෝමන්ස් සෙන්ටර් එකේ දේවල් අපිට වෙන දේවල් දකින්න තියෙන අවස්ථා හරි අඩුයි. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් සෑහෙන මුදලක් වෙන් කරනවා මේ එකේ වැඩවලට. මොකද්ද මේ ජාතික කණ්ඩායමට දෙන දායකත්වය මේ සෙන්ටර් එකේ?
ඇත්තට ඕගොල්ලෝ ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ හරියටම උත්තර දෙන්න නම් ඔයා ඇත්තටම වෙලාවක අපිව කන්ටැක්ට් කරලා එහෙට ආවොත් හොඳයි. නමුත් මම ආපහු එහෙට ගියේ මාස 16කට විතර උඩදී. ඉතින් මම බාරගත්ත ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක තිබ්බ ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකක්. එතකොට අපි කරන්නේ බෑක් එන්ඩ් එකේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එකේ පාත්වේ එකට අපි උදව් කරන එක තමයි කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි කර ගියේ. එතකොට අපේ සාකච්ඡා තිබ්බා පරිපාලනයත් එක්ක. එතකොට දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන්ලා ඇති වෙනස්කම් වගේක් වෙලා තිනවා. ඉතින් ඒකත් එක්ක අපි සමහර පර්ෆෝම් කරපු අඩු කට්ටියට මම නම්මකුත් කියන්න කැමති නෑ. එතන පොඩි මේ ළඟදී ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ඇති රීබූට් එකක් වුණා, රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකක් වුණා ස්ටාෆ් එක අතර. ඉතින් ඒ ස්ටාෆ් එකේ රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකත් එක්ක මට හිතුණා මේගොල්ලොත් එක්ක රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ඒක අපි ආපහු දැන් ගැරිත් එක්කත් මම එයාට පෙන්නලා කතා කරලා එයාගේත් අදහස් අරන් තියෙනවා ඒවා මොනවද කරන්නේ වෙනස් කරන්න කියලා. මොකද අපි ඔක්කොම ඉන්නේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එකටනේ. දැන් එතන බැලුවොත් අපේ ගෑනු කණ්ඩායම ගත්තොත් අපේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එක අන්ඩර් 19 එක හොඳට කරනවා. අපේ අන්ඩර් 19 පිරිමි කට්ටිය ගත්තත් මේ පාර හොඳ බෝල් කප් එක හොඳ ළමයි වගේක් එළියට එනවා කියලා පේනවා. අපේ අඩුපාඩුව උනේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එකේ. ඉතින් ඒ ටික හදාගන්න එක තමයි දැන් තියෙන මේක.
Daminda, you can.
Gary, welcome to Sri Lanka. Whenever a new coach comes in, your most common statement is there's a talented pool of players. But what are your view? I mean, having said that, everything will be differ from, I mean, when you take the ability, work ethics, and the attitude. And what are your thoughts on these, the skill set, ability, skill set, work ethics, and the attitude? What are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's exactly what you are looking for in every player. And again, you know, you can't only rely on talent. You do need to rely on good work ethic and a good attitude in the game. I think my role as a head coach of the team is to get those group of players wanting to perform well for Sri Lanka and really motivated to do well and do what is required to play their best for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, Damika, you can.
Gary, recently we saw Sri Lankan selectors are very serious about the players' fitness. How do you feel about the players' fitness as a new coach? Because you have to, not only the players' mentally and physical fitness, you have to think about more.
Players' fitness is important. It's, you know, unfortunately, cricket's a game where there are a few grey areas when it comes to fitness because players can often still perform when they're not quite at the level. But for me, fitness is about keeping people on the field for as long as possible. You don't want to have injuries that, you know, where important match in a series, guys are not available and fit. So player fitness is really important. That's no different to anywhere in the world. And a lot of countries battle with player fitness, but it is really, really important. And as I understand in Sri Lankan cricket, there are protocol in place. And players have got to reach pretty standard levels, to be honest with you. I don't think that the fitness protocols are too hard on the players. Certainly your basic and standard levels. There would certainly be an expectation from everyone that players would reach those standards. And that those fitness protocols are pretty much the same throughout any country that I've been involved in.
Madhushka.
Gary, just a bit of a broader question. You spoke about how you've had some learnings through your time in franchise cricket and so on. Just curious, over the span of your career, your philosophy, how has it been shaped, like particularly more recently? Are there certain things that maybe you thought once upon a time that now are very different? Because we see the way players approach if you watch the IPL now, you know, there's almost less of a value on wicket, more values on just how many runs you can get in as few balls as possible. So just in that sense, for you now, what would your philosophy entail and how has it changed over the years?
That's a good question, and it has changed over the years. And I think certainly what my time in the leagues has really helped me with is to understand how to use data to find competitive advantages. So we use that a lot now in a very detailed way. Also, what you've got to do is present compelling arguments to players, because players have access to knowledge now. And the modern player, you know, often doesn't kind of listen to a kind of a top-down, we'll tell you what to do approach, because he's got a good, strong argument to tell you otherwise. So I look at these formats and I'm saying, what are the areas across the three formats that I can present a compelling argument to the players to say we've got to get better in that space? Maybe one small example is I just looked over the last 30 one-day internationals, how many hundreds in one-day internationals the Sri Lankan team has and where they're ranked in the world. So you guys can go and have a look at that and come back and tell me where you think they're ranked. But that can be a compelling argument to the team to say, hey guys, we want to be one of the top in the world at scoring hundreds in ODIs. So I think if you present it in a good way to the players and it's compelling, you'll get movement.
Viduranga.
Hi Gary. When we are considering on the selection process of Sri Lanka cricket to the squads and the team, mostly it's based on just numbers. But in nowadays, we think some player got so many runs, we think he should in the squad or the team. But nowadays, role-based performance is very impactful to the international cricket. So what do you think about that and how are you going to apply to the Sri Lanka cricket? And also we would like to know about your cycling career and what are your thoughts on Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan people?
my cycling career, so I've got my bike with me and I've already done a lot of riding. So I'm going to ride around this country, probably end up doing a ride around the entire country. So I'm very excited by that. So that's over. But I think in terms of understanding roles and understanding how to select players based on performance, the one thing that doesn't lie is the stats. And we play a stats-based game. And, you know, if you create a decent sample size, you'll get a pretty decent understanding of how a player is performing. So that is obviously weighted massively when you're trying to select a player. I think the next component to that is every team needs individuals in the team that are willing to step up and make those hard performances when the team needs it. And every team, when you've got a good group of those guys, they win games out of nowhere and make performances when you really need it. Those are the individuals I'm really excited by. Now, that's going to take time for me to understand and learn. But as I said, I mean, just in the week that I've been here, I've had a brief look at 40-odd players and where they sit and what their records are like. And they certainly match with what you would get anywhere in international cricket. But it's how you make those performances, when you make them, who are the guys that are making the top performances when you absolutely need them, that are critical to the success of a team.
We are going into the last two questions. Danushka in the first one, and the last one will be Damit Veerasinghe.
මගේ ප්‍රශ්නය ජයරත්න මහත්තයට මේ ඔබතුමා කිව්වා මේ කලින් මේ HPC එකේ හිටපු ට්‍රේනර්ස්ලාව පොඩ්ඩක් මාරු කරා කියලා. විශේෂයෙන්ම ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ඒ කණ්ඩායමේ හිටපු අවිෂ්ක ගුණවර්ධන ඒ විදිහට මාරු කරන්නට under 19 කණ්ඩායමට යොදන්නට මොකක්ද හේතු වෙච්ච කාරණාව සහ මේ ඇයි මේ වගේ රීෂෆල් එකකට යන්න හේතුනේ?
අපේ සීනියර් ක්‍රිකට් ටීම් එක ගැනනේ ඩික්ලයින් එක වෙලා තියෙන්නේ දැන් ටික කාලෙක ඉඳන්. එතකොට අපි ගත්තොත් සීනියර් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ මම නන් නොකිය කියන්නම් සීනියර් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ අපේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එකට උදව් කරන කෝච්ලා ටිකක් ගත්තොත් එතන අවුරුදු ගාණක් ඉඳලා අපේ නැෂනල් ටීම් එකේ බැටිං බෝලිං වල ඉෂුව එකක් තිබ්බා. පර්ෆෝමන්ස් වල ඩික්ලයින් එකක්. එතකොට මේ රීෂෆල් එකේ වුණේ අපි සමහර අය කවුරුත් සිස්ටම් එකෙන් එළියට දාලා නැහැ. හොරිසොන්ටලි අපි ඩවුන්ග්‍රේඩ් කරලා තිබ්බා කෝච්ලා වගේක් අලුත් සෙට් එකක් ගෙනාවා නැෂනල් ටීම් එකට උදව් කරන්න සිස්ටම් එකේ හිටපු අය. මොකද ඒ හිටපු අය අවුරුදු ගාණක් ටිකක් ඉඳලා අපේ පර්ෆෝමන්ස් එක හරියට එන්නේ නැත්තම් අපි රීබූට් එකක් රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ළමයි ක්‍රිකට් ගහන අය වගේ කවුරු හරි පර්ෆෝම් කරේ නැත්තම් තව අයට ඔපචුනිටි එක දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒක තමයි එතන වුණේ. එතකොට ඔයා අර නමක් කියපු නිසා අවිෂ්කගේ ඒ ටීම් එකක් හැටියට පර්ෆෝම් කරනවනේ. එතකොට අපි බැලුවේ අනිත් පැත්තේ මම දැන් පරිපාලනයේත් බැලුවේ ටීම් එකක් හැටියට දිනනවා නම් under 19 මොකද අපේ on field performance අපි වැඩිපුර බලන්නේ under 19 පිරිමි ගැහැණු World Cup උයි පිරිමි ගැහැණු national team World Cup අනිත් ඒවා ඔක්කොම development. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි උදව් කරනවා national team එකට ළමයි හදන්න. එතකොට ළමයි හැදුනට අපිට national team එකට ගිහිල්ලා performance එකේ issue එකක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒකනේ cricket එකේ decline එකක් ආවේ. ඒකයි යා match දිනන නිසා අපි හිතුවේ under 19 national job එක දෙන එක හොඳයි කියලා match දිනන්න පුළුවන් නම් මොකද අපි world cup එකකට ගිය වෙනවා 28. එයා විතරක් නෙවෙයි තව කීප දෙනෙක් reshuffle වුණා. ඔයා හරියට structure එක දිහා බැලුවොත්.
Damit, you can go ahead.
Gary, too often international coaches are gauged by their performances, the team performances during World Cups. The next World Cup would be in South Africa next year. How do you plan on reaching maybe the knockouts which Sri Lanka hasn't reached over the past decade, especially in your backyard and with the assistance of some of the new support staff which I'm sure would have been your recommendation. So starting from West Indies to South Africa.
Yeah, I think we've got around, I'm not sure exactly, 20 to 25 ODIs before the World Cup. So the planning starts now for the World Cup. It's a good cricket team already, the ODI team. But I think we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to get the kind of success we want to in South Africa. Been very different conditions to what a lot of the guys are used to. It's how do we plan for that? And as I said at the beginning, making sure that all our bases are covered in the skill sets of the team. You know, do we have guys that are going to bowl with great airspeed? Do we have guys that can swing the ball? Do we guys can bowl with bounce? Do you have top spinners? And do you have 6 batters that can play and bat on those kind of conditions? That's going to be an important progress as we move through the one days that we're going to play in. Results count, you know, we can't hide from that, so they do make a difference. So every series that we play going into that World Cup, we want to be giving a good account of ourselves and winning those series. So we'll be aiming at, you know, progressing and improving as we get closer to the World Cup.
We have time for one more question here. You can
මේ ප්‍රශ්නය CEOට සහ Director of Cricket මම දෙන්නගෙන් වෙන වෙනම දැනගන්න කැමති ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් වශයෙන් මොනවද ඩිෆයින් කරලා තියෙන KPIs සහ පරිපාලනමය පැත්තෙන් මොනවද ඩිෆයින් කරලා තියෙන KPIs සහ පුහුණුකරුවන්ගේ පැත්තෙන් ක්‍රිකට් පැත්තෙන් මොනවද මේ ඉදිරි වසර තුල අපි ඩිෆයින් කරලා තියෙන KPIs සහ විශේෂයෙන්ම පුහුණුකරුවන්ට ඒ KPIs achieve කරගන්නට ප්‍රමාණවත් තරම් කාලරාමුවක් දීලා තියෙනවද උන්ට ඒ පිළිබඳව දැනුවත් කිරීමක් කරලා තියෙනවද මොකද ගොඩක් විට අපි දකිනවා කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එකෙන් කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එකට තමයි මේක ඩිෆයින් වෙන්නේ එහෙම නැතුව ලෝක කුසලානයකින් ලෝක කුසලානයකට ඩිෆයින් වෙන බවක් අපිට පහුගිය කාලේ දකින්න ලැබුණ ඉතාම අඩුවෙන් මේකට වෙන වෙනම දෙන්නගෙම පිළිතුරු දැනගන්න කැමතියි
මම පුහුණුවීම් අංශයෙන් කියන්නම් මේ ළඟදී තමයි මේ ඔයා දන්නවා ඇති මේ රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක වුණේ මේ ළඟදී ඉතින් තිබ්බ KPI set එක දැන් වෙනස් කරනවා that is in progress in construction right now so I'm unable to answer that complete to you because it's currently in construction and තියෙන කාල වකවානුව අනුව තිබ්බොත් KPI එකක් හදනවා නම් කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක ඉවර වුණා නම් අපි ඒ KPI එක දෙන්නේ වකවානුවට විතරයි. එතනින් එහාට අපි හිතනවා ඊට වැඩිය දිගට දෙනවා නම් ඒක තව එක්ස්ටෙන්ඩ් වෙන්න ඕනේද කියන එක. හැබැයි ඒක in progress දැන් මේ මුළු රීස්ට්‍රක්චර් රීබූට් එකත් එක්ක ඒකත් වෙමින් පවතින්නේ දැන්.
ප්ලේයර්ස් ලගේ KPIs ආවම ප්ලේයර්ස් ලගේ KPIs සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සෙට් කරන්නේ මේ හයි පර්ෆෝමන්ස් සෙන්ටර් එකේ. නමුත් ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් KPIs සෙට් කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක හැටියට. ඉතින් අපි දැන් කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක හැටියට ඒගොල්ලන්ට වාසි වෙන විදියට දින්නොත් වාසි වෙන විදියට වෙනම ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් බෙනිෆිට් එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ඒගොල්ලන්ට බෝනසස් දීලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ඒගොල්ලන් මැච් පෙරදුනොත් එතනත් පොඩි එෆෙක්ට් එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට එෆෙක්ට් වෙන හැටියට අපි ඒ KPIs හදලා තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇග්‍රීමන්ට්ස් වල. ඒක තමයි අපි කරගෙන යන්නේ. නමුත් player individual player KPIs සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සෙට් කරන්නේ high performance center එකේ.
With that, we are ending the briefing. Thank you very much, and please join us for some tea.